So, hi, I'm Victoria Tran. I'm the community director at Innersloth. We make a game called Among Us and also the Henry Stickmin collection. I kind of consider myself like the in-between for everything in terms of communications. It's my job, one, because game development is difficult to kind of communicate without, going on to like 5-paragraph essays and trying to explain how to program to people and all the legal issues that could come up, etc. It's my job to be able to explain that as succinctly as possible, but in a way that's understanding and trying to address all the concerns that people have, while at the same time, any information that's coming to us or like that the community wants or that they're concerned about, I'm bringing that to the team and in more condensed form, and also kind of weeding through any of the trolls and that sort of thing. My earliest memories of playing games and honestly being involved with game communities goes super far back when I was a kid, and I was on a bunch of MMOs that maybe as a kid I shouldn't have been on. I kind of said, I was like, yeah, I'm over 13, and I was playing Habbo Hotel as a 10-year-old or something, but there's all the classics, there's Neopets and RuneScape and honestly a lot of PC games and a lot of multiplayer games, just because my brother and I wanted to play games together, but also we couldn't afford any consoles growing up, so we kind of just shared the computer and we played a lot of free Flash games and everything, and that was sort of my early introduction into games. I would say my most memorable experience would definitely be Ragnarok Online, and not the official server. Because again, we couldn't afford it, but for me, Ragnarok Online had a lot of attachment. I have a lot of nostalgia for it because it was the one game that I actually started to really in its own way, form friendships and form real connections with people over it. And that was kind of the first time I was like, oh, this is what you can do online. This is so cool. I'm part of a guild. I have people I can talk to almost every day, every time I log on. So for me, Ragnarok is really special. Actually, since I mentioned Habbo Hotel, for example, people kind of made their own mini games in Habbo Hotel, and there was one where it was basically America's Next Top Model, but Habbo Hotel. So you would be in a room and you would have judges and you would judge everyone's outfit and all of that, and you would kick anyone who you're sorry, you're voted out. And that was kind of the first time with a group of random online strangers, I kind of started that out of organizing and creating this community of Next Top Habbo Hotel models. I know a lot of people think oh, the internet is so bad because there's so many anonymous people who can be trolls and etc. and that's why it's bad. But that's actually why I think community managers and community directors or community developers are so important, because they're the ones that are going to create the tone of your community, right? If it were true that being anonymous means you'll be a terrible person online, that means that's just fundamentally untrue, because you have seen, and I have seen, many different acts of random, anonymous kindness. What people think the formula for a troll is, right, is usually you have the internet and you're anonymous, and that means you'll be a troll. For me, what it actually is if you have the internet, you have anonymity, and you also have a space that tolerates that kind of behavior. So whatever kind of tolerance you have, that's going to ultimately set the tone for the community that you build. So if you are trying to create a positive, kinder space, then you would actively encourage those kinds of things, and you would promote those kinds of things and reward those kinds of things, and you would either punish or discourage behaviors that you don't find helpful or useful or are just plain rude. And that's, again, why community managers, I think, are so important. one of the signs that your community has matured a little bit more when you have people who are actively trying to help each other out in the community and contributing and kind of almost being like the mentors in this space. And for that, again, I think it does sort of lie in terms of like how the community manager is handling the space and the kinds of behaviors that they're encouraging. So when you first start off, right, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but actively encouraging people to help out or to kind of wait and let them help each other out when someone has a question. But also, just like expressing thanks and being like, hey, I really like appreciate that you said that to that person and you helped them out. Just the small little moments and taking the time to notice those moments is really important when it comes to setting the tone and everything. Like a lot of people I know like think of grand gestures and like it has to be this big deal thing, but no, when it comes to communities and when it comes to building actual real connections, it is those small moments that you take the time to pay attention to and that you notice and that you, bring to light. One of the reasons I think a lot of people don't understand what community management is that so much of community management is just noticing and paying attention and knowing when you need to contribute to a situation. There's like ways to act really excited and ways to like laugh along with people or continue on a joke, like, kind of the improv yes and. People love it when it feels like they're being listened to and they're feeling connected and they're feeling valued by either, the development team or the people in the community. Social media has given game developers and game communities a much more direct line of access to each other and a lot of discussion and a lot of kind of community building within itself, like helping game developers not seem so like, far away, and also being able to talk about what things excite you about the game and provide feedback. And, also if there's like a bug in the game, we will definitely know by now. A lot of the time, game developers have thought of most of the ideas that the community has thought of. Not to say that, like, they have all the great ideas and, community can never contribute anything, but more so that game designers, they know what they want, and they wish they could do it, but there's always some sort of blocker, whether it's financial, whether it's time, all that sort of thing. But it's also thinking about what we think the community also needs that they won't necessarily ask for. So for example of that, let's say people want new cosmetics and that's like the only thing that they demand for. But at the moment, like our highest priority is for accounts so that you can have like, proper reporting and moderation and all that sort of thing. Because for a healthy community to thrive, that you need to have those sorts of things in place. It's always a balancing trick of like, okay, like this is a fun thing that we would like to do. Take into consideration what repeat things you've seen in the community and that have been presented to you and that makes sense, but also considering, okay, and also how do we want the community to grow and how can we help that? And that being said, I think the cool thing about social media and game design and game communities is just the fact that we can be so much more transparent with people now when it comes to that. There's like double-edged sword of like sometimes you get the internet and, as the internet can be, it can be a little bit stressful. But overall, I know that game development is difficult and game development is tiring and it's really demotivating sometimes and there's a lot of burnout. But the fact that you can have a community rallying you on and cheering you on means way more than I think people realize. Like, it is really motivating to have people believe in you and want to help you. So I think that's really nice. What I really want communities in general, though, to be, whether it's game developers, whether it's the players that are part of communities, is that I want us to be able to be kinder to each other and just try to be better as a group, just together. Because I think what happens is that, especially in larger communities, there are a lot of opportunities to connect, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we actually feel connected to each other, or that we actually feel like we are valued or it means anything. And for me, when it comes to communities, like the whole point of them is that they provide meaning and they provide connection and they value us. And that kind of connection and meaning helps us face, the real world, which can be super tough, especially during a pandemic or especially during times where we are feeling a little bit more lonely and whatnot. For me, I hope that what games and game communities can do is just provide that connection and meaning to people who need it.
Hey everyone, this is Brian, and thanks for watching. I'd also like to thank our guest, Victoria, and our artist, Carlos, for helping to make this episode possible. If you like our videos and would like to see more of them, consider supporting us on Patreon. We're still figuring out our workflow, but we're hoping to get a couple videos out a month, at least for the rest of this year. If you want to reach out to us, we're available via email or Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see you around.